A lot of people say that body count doesn't matter. But why is it that when men care about it, they're told to just accept it? Anyway, that's what we're going to be diving into today as this TikToker tries to convince men that body count isn't important. Before we get into the drama, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button and give us a boost in the YouTube algorithm. It really helps out the channel a lot, so let me thank you in advance. But with all my begging out of the way, we can get into the mess.
Body count does not matter. I know the men are going to be in uproar, and I will be honest and say this is a very mature conversation, so there's a lot of men that are not going to be able to understand this. Men are so enamored with the idea of a low body count that they don't realize how little impact or effect it has on a long-term relationship. Most men will do their due diligence on a woman they're dating through the form of a CRB check, which is basically just code for asking around about her. The information they will get back will be related to who and how many she has slept with and baby fathers, if they exist, and who they might be. Unless she's done something truly psychotic, which the reality is most women haven't. And men will take that information and use it to make a decision on whether this woman is worthy of the commitment. Baby, that's dumb, okay?
She says that body count doesn't matter and that the whole thing is stupid. And while she has a right to think that, guys also have a right to care about the things they care about, even if you don't think it's important. Let's be real, a lot of girls judge men on their height, but how much impact does a guy's height have on a long-term relationship? The answer is not much, but if that's something that women care about, they're free to do so. It doesn't matter how irrelevant men think such a thing is. When people say things like body count doesn't matter, it's almost as if they're trying to tempt or even force men to go against their instincts, just because it's not something they understand or care about. At the start of this video, she even acknowledged that men would be triggered by this, so she understands that the whole body count thing is important to men. It's not just a niche group of guys who care about it. Anyway, according to a few studies out there, the number of men that a woman has slept with will have an effect on her ability to maintain a healthy relationship. And it's been shown that the more guys a woman slept with, the higher the chances that she'll get a divorce, be unhappy, or even cheat on her partner. But just in case you don't believe me, here's one of the studies that talk about this sort of thing. Using data from the 3 most recent waves of the National Survey of Family Growth collected in 2002, 2006 to 2010, and 2011 to 2013. For women marrying since the start of the new millennium, women with 10 or more partners were the most likely to divorce, but this only became true in recent years. Women with 3 to 9 partners were less likely to divorce than women with 2 partners, and women with 0 to 1 partner were the least likely to divorce. Earlier research found that having multiple sex partners prior to marriage could lead to less happy marriages and often increased the odds of divorce. I'll leave the full link to this in the description if you want to check it out, and if you do, let me know your thoughts in the comments. In any case, the reason why men prefer women who have lower body counts or are not very promiscuous all comes down to paternity certainty. While women are out here looking for the strongest and most capable men to make sure that their own survival and the survival of any kids they might have with this man, men are looking for women who will give them the highest chance of paternity certainty so that they don't end up investing their time or resources into a child that isn't theirs. These are desires that are ingrained into our biology, and even though life has changed a lot since we were living out in the wild like Pokemon, our bodies haven't yet caught up to this new reality we're living in, which is why men and women have the preferences they do, even if they don't seem relevant anymore. When a man's looking at a woman's sexual history, he's trying to assess patterns of behavior, so things like, does she have an extensive history of short flings, or children with previous partners, all play a role in determining if he wants to build a life with and invest in this person.
And I'm not saying have a high body count. I very much believe your body is a temple and it should be valued and only accessible to people who respect you. However, I digress. The only thing a body count tells you about a woman is how many has entered her.
It's funny that she says that body count doesn't matter, but at the same time, it's not something she'd suggest people should strive for, as she thinks people should treat their body like a temple. She also says that a woman's body should be valued and only accessible to men who respect them. So if a woman doesn't live by that, what is she saying about her own worth? Also, a high body count tells you much more about a woman than just how many guys have clapped her cheeks. It can tell you about what type of person she is, or at the very least, used to be. In my own experience, I've noticed that women who've slept with a lot of guys tend to have emotional imprints left behind by some of these men, which can get in the way of her getting to know a guy who might actually want them for something long-term as opposed to a situationship type thing.
So being a woman, I know that the body count number that women give that's acceptable kind of nowadays is 5. Men also, come on, be for real. Most women who say they've slept with 5 people have not slept with 5 people.
She's 100% right in that women tend to give out whatever number they think is acceptable when it comes to how many people they've slept with. Women know that their body count is something guys care about, which is why they'll try their best to stick to the lowest number possible. It's also why you shouldn't just take someone at their word, and instead, pay attention to every bit of information you can get from their behavior, how they talk, their interests, who their friends are, and anything else you can think of.
Let's talk about it. But more importantly, B, there are women who have slept with 5, 10, 15 men who will be better partners than virgins, or than people who have slept with 1 or 2 men. That's the real truth about it. A low body count does not mean a woman is not rude. It does not mean a woman is not disrespectful. It does not mean that the woman is not just going to be sitting there with her hand up. It does not mean that she cares about you. Let me be honest, there are a lot of women who don't care if you live or die as long as you pay the bills. Knowing how many men she slept with doesn't expose you to any of that information.
While it's true that someone with a higher body count can be a better partner than someone who doesn't, when you're meeting someone new, you can only make decisions based on the information you have. And as mentioned earlier, the higher a woman's body count is, the more likely it is that they'll have difficulty when getting into or maintaining a long-term and healthy relationship. Nothing is going to be 100%, so you can only make judgments that will give you the best possible chance of success. If you've ever seen Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, you'll notice that the people investing in these new and upcoming businesses are sometimes wrong about a product or service, and because of that, they miss out on taking home a huge profit. But most of the time, their instincts and experience with recognizing certain things about someone's business saves them a lot of money. I say all that to say that the exception doesn't make the rule, which is something I'm sure you guys have heard a lot. No one is out here saying that women with low body counts are perfect, but what we are saying is that women with higher body counts generally come with more risks. So why wouldn't a guy want to avoid that as best as he can?
And the thing about picking up women with low body counts, again, nothing wrong with having a low body count. I even encourage it. But the thing about it is a lot of them, you meet them where you find them. And a lack of experience means that the mindset that they have is pretty much the mindset that they're going to go with for the rest of their life. So if her mindset is not in the right place, that is what you're stuck with. Now, yes, we don't like experienced women because there is a negativity attached with experience. But if we're really being honest, there's also a lot of positivity that can be gained from experience. You've made mistakes and you've learnt from them. You've experienced it in situations and you think, no, not the best way to do it. I'll do it this way going forward. There's a lot of self-development that can come from experience. And let me tell you something. If a lot of men are real, and I would love to see if there's some real men up in here, a lot of men that prioritize virtue and virginity will tell you that they picked wrong because they used the wrong criteria.
Just because you meet someone who's a particular way today, it doesn't mean that they won't grow and change over time, regardless of what their sexual history is. So I don't see what that has to do with wanting a woman who hasn't slept around. Not having an extensive sexual past has nothing to do with how someone will be thinking in 5 or even 10 years from now, so she kinda lost me with that one. While sexual experience is something that women value in men, which is something we've all heard countless times, men just don't think the same way. Most men would rather do without the trauma that can come with a woman who's slept around. Just because women tend to see things that way, they shouldn't try to push men into that kind of thinking because we just don't move through the world in the same way. Now, I can agree with the fact that there's a lot of self-development that can come from experience, like she said, but some mistakes come with permanent consequences. If a woman spent years of her life jumping from guy to guy, it may very well be the fact that she's trained herself to detach from sex, and that's not something that's necessarily going to change when she finds someone she might want to spend the rest of her life with. The thing she said about men prioritizing virtue, picking the wrong partner, isn't something I can immediately get on board with. I'd have to hear what these men have to say for themselves, and then ask why a woman's body count was the only thing they focused on, because that would also be a mistake. Chances are, there were tons of red flags that they ignored, But honestly, right now, I can't really make too many assumptions about this claim, since this is something she kinda just pulled out of thin air. But hey, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments.
Because men give so much weight to this body count that when you're in a relationship, doesn't really affect the day-to-day life of your relationship. You can be a virgin and be rude. You can be a virgin and be disrespectful. You can be not caring. You can not be a great mother. Now, of course, you can be these things also if you have a high body count, but I'm just saying these things are not determined by body count. And a lot of men underestimate women in the sense that they think they're the only ones that can manipulate and trick. Just as a man can present a persona to get you in the bed, he can pretend to really like you and want you for days, weeks, even months sometimes. He can do that because he wants the box. However, the thing about getting the box is it is a sprint. It's something that you want to get quickly, so the race is very quick. Now, if you understand that society pre-programs women to want and desire marriage is a long-term thing. You have to date, you have to be boyfriend and girlfriend, you have to engage, then you get married. There are a lot of women who can and do present as one thing and then turn into a completely different person when they are married. And a lot of men have fallen for that.
I've already gone over why a woman's body count is something that men consider, so I'm not really going to go over that again. But what I will react to is her statement about women being able to manipulate and trick a man into marrying her. And honestly, this is something I 100% agree with, which is why vetting the woman you want to make your wife is something you should take very seriously.
There are a lot of men who are, if they're honest, they will tell you that their criteria for choosing a long-term partner that was based on virtue, they would change it if they had the chance. A lot of men you will find the second time around, maybe if they're getting married the second time, or if they're coming out of a long-term relationship and looking for a new person, they definitely do not prioritize virtue as highly. That is the truth.
I honestly don't think there are a lot of men out here choosing a life partner solely based on a woman's sexual history, and I don't know where she's getting this idea from. But like I said earlier, if this is something that men are doing, it's a mistake.
I'm not gonna lie, there are a lot of men who are divorcees who are with what society will call hoes and living their best life, okay? Spoilt, pampered, loved, taken care of. Now, that's not to say a woman with a low body count or a virgin can't be just as nice and just as sweet. It's just to let you know that this is not dependent on body count. And I think it's important to talk about because it's not just women who make mistakes in picking the wrong life partners for the wrong reasons. Men also do it, but usually don't speak up about it. So men, yes, while I know body count is important to you, virtue, all that good stuff, it's not the end all and be all. I know you don't want to hear that, but it's the truth.
This doesn't really mean anything to me. There are also plenty of men out there living their best lives with women who've had children for multiple men. But dating a woman like that isn't something I'd ever recommend to someone, because more often than not, it's not going to work out in their best interest. If you have a woman who's pulled in some serious numbers over the years, she's not going to magically change overnight just because she meets someone she wants to build a life with. People's past behaviors have a way of coming back, so it very well might be that she misses the thrill of hooking up with random guys, which could contribute to her stepping out of her marriage.
Bar your ego, it doesn't really affect much. In fact, let me just go to it. A lot of men, you're really eager to pick these good girls. And the reality is you like the good girls for the image, but when it's time to build a life with this person, you don't like them. They're boring. You don't have anything in common. There's no connection. So your marriage or your relationship is miserable.
Personally, I wouldn't mind a boring partner, but she'd have to define what she means by boring. I wouldn't settle down with someone I had nothing in common with just because they've got a low body count. That'd just be silly. And honestly, how people see me is the last thing I care about.
I don't want a girl because she smokes. You smoke, bro! Like every day I see men upset, stressed, angry because the person they're with, they don't have anything in common with. They don't like the way she looks. They don't find her sexy. The type of girls they like and the girl that they're with look nothing alike. The things they like to do, the music they like to listen to, that girl doesn't like or doesn't allow.
Again, the men out there who are choosing partners they're not certain about aren't doing themselves any favors. But I doubt that guys who value themselves and their time will feel forced to settle down with someone out of desperation, regardless of their body count.
What kind of voluntary suffering is this? Learn men to start picking with sense. And I'm not saying go after girls with high body counts or go after girls with low body counts. What I'm saying is look at the full picture. And body count is not the full picture. And I know there's going to be one witty guy that's going to go in the comments and talk about my body count. I'm happy to say it's not for free. And ladies, this is why I say stop sleeping with these men also, because they will turn around and try and use sex against you. But anyway, like I always say, there's always an exception to the rule. For best results, assume it's not you.
Of course, a woman's body count isn't the full picture of who she is, but it sure as hell tells you a lot. If a woman's body count is something that matters to you, don't ever feel like you have to ignore it just because there are people out there telling you that it doesn't matter. When you're picking a woman to spend your life with, there are a lot of things for you to think about because relationships and marriage are a huge investment and come with massive risks. But that's just about all I've got to say for today. But if you guys have any thoughts on this whole body count thing, let me know in the comments.